recording. Hi, everyone out in National Teen Lock-In Land. I'm so excited to be presenting the next author tonight. Kristen Simmons is here with us. She is the acclaimed author of the article series, Glass Arrow, and the forthcoming Metal Town. Without further ado, I'd like you to meet Kristen.
Hi, I'm Kristen Simmons. I hope this is working. I've never done this before. I'm very nervous, but I guess I'm just gonna sit here and talk to myself for a little while. So I hope you guys can hear me. I have a list of questions that I'm gonna be reading, and I hope that as I'm talking, if it makes you think of anything else, you add some onto that list and they'll get forwarded on to me. So anyway, I'm glad to be here, and I hope that you all, whoever is listening to this, is having an awesome night. Yes, I am the author of the Article 5 series. That is, here we go, Article 5, Breaking Point, and 3. Ooh, 3. And as that falls on me. And The Glass Arrow, which came out last year. And forthcoming, as she said, Metal Town, which I'm really excited about, and I'll talk about in a little while. This comes out in September. But the first question that we have tonight is, can you tell us how you came up with the storyline for The Glass Arrow? And yes, I can. The Glass Arrow is a story about a world where women are endangered. It's set far in the future, and it's a place where it's a very misogynistic society. So men are in charge. Men don't value the opinion of women. Women are primarily used for breeding and for domestic servitude kind of thing. So it starts off with our hero Aya. She's living, as some women do, in these bands of girls hiding out in the mountains with their families. She's grown up there. She's very tough. She's very fierce. Because she's had to survive her whole life on her own and taking care of her family. And so she very early on is captured by a hunting party of people who bring her into the city, and she's brought into this facility called the Garden, and she's, prepped to be sold. And this story came about from something that I had seen on the news several years ago, where they were talking about issues in these places in rural China where there's a lack of females in certain areas due to societal things that were going on, and so there were literally these trucks of men that were driving around and picking up girls from their villages and then bringing them, to these other villages to be their wives. And it really hit me. And I kept thinking, what a crazy situation to be just going about your life one day and then to be, put in the back of someone's truck and turned into someone's wife at, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. It just really stuck with me. So, I did some research, and you don't have to do very much research at all to find that this is not just a problem in that area, but all across the world, that there's a whole lot of trading of girls that goes on across the world. So anyway, that was the inspiration. It's kind of a somber issue, but I'm most often attracted to those issues because I do come from a social work background. I have a master's degree in social work, and I worked as a social worker and a mental health therapist for many years before I was published. So social rights issues are often very important to me, and often come across in the books that I write. The next question, how does writing a standalone differ from a series? That's a great question. It's easier in some ways, and it's harder in some ways. That's a great answer, right? No. It's easier because it's, when you're plotting out a book, if you plot out a book like I do, you have to think about the arc of that story. So, how do you build up the characters and the action. How do you create that rising action? How do you show a climax, and how do you resolve it, right? Essentially. So you have that arc that goes on through one book. You fit it all together, you've got a standalone book. In a series, you have to have that for each book. So in a trilogy, 3 books, but then you also have to have an overarching arc that goes over the entire series. That seems like it's more complicated, but it also gives you a lot more time with those characters to get to know them, to spend more time with them, to spend more time in their world. I love the characters in the Article 5 series, and I loved being with them for 3 books and to see how much they could grow over those 3 books. In a standalone, you really have to condense that into one story. So you can show a lot of growth, but you don't get to necessarily be with them for as long of a time sometimes. At least that was the case in the series in the book, standalone books that I wrote. The third question, how can you tell us about your series Article 5 for those who may not have read it? Yeah, I can tell you about that series for sure. The Article 5 series is set in a U.S. that's after a war on U.S. soil, where as a result of a change in government regime, the Bill of Rights have been removed, and something has been taken over, or something is taken over called the moral statutes. So there are moral laws that are in place. Things like you can't get divorced, you can't have a child out of wedlock, you can't gamble. Boys have to wear certain clothes, girls have to wear certain clothes. You can only listen to certain music, approved music, and watch approved movies, those kinds of things. So that's the setting that our main character, Ember Miller, finds herself in the beginning. And she also finds herself being raised by a single mom who had her when she wasn't married. And so Ember is about to be charged for the crime that her mother committed, which, one, isn't a crime, really, and 2, she had absolutely nothing to say about. So she's charged by these the military that's in charge now, and that's called the Federal Bureau of Reformation, the FBR, which Ember refers to as the moral militia. And of course, she's also charged by this soldier that knows her, that's able to pull her in. And this is a boy that she's been friends with all her life, and that she's also loved all her life. So he has secrets, of course. And when she finds herself in a tight spot, you know, getting sent to reform school and that sort of thing, she ends up relying on him quite a bit to help her out. So that's where Article 5 finds us. Breaking Point and 3 continue on with that story, where we learn more about what's going on. Oh, my little computer just did a little thingy. I hope you're all still there. Okay, Breaking Point and 3. Okay, she says we are still here. Okay, good. Sorry. Breaking Point and 3 continue that story, of course, where Ember and this boy, his name is Chase, are together trying to figure out, you know, one, where they're going to run and hide from the moral militia, because now they're both in a situation where they're at odds with the government, and also what this strange resistance movement is and how they can become involved with it. So very action-y, very, there's a romance in it, but yeah, I like that series. I hope you guys do too. Also recently released in Spanish, so I know several librarians have asked me if it is in Spanish, and indeed it is. I have it here. It's this really, really lovely hardcover version. So if you have any questions about that, you can definitely email me, and I can see if I can get you more information on that. If you have Spanish speakers in your library. All right. Next question. Our teen book club is about to read The Glass Arrow. What influenced you to write it? What should we know about it before we start reading? Okay, well, I talked a little about what influenced me to write it, but what should you know about it before you start reading? Let me think. You should know that it's going to involve a kick-ass heroine who is ready to, you know, punch through walls to get back to her family and get the things that she's, you know, owed in this life. This book is really my my backlash, I guess, to all the drama that went on when I was in high school. When I was in high school, there was this thing where people would rate how good girls looked on this star system. So if you were, you would, if you were a cute girl, you'd be a 10, of course. And if you were, kind of an ugly girl, you'd be like a 3. And then, if you had great hair, but, I don't know, lousy legs or whatever, you'd be like a 6. So you'd get these star ratings by people. And over time, this strange thing happened where girls would start to try to up their own star ratings, as if that's what matters, is the way you look and the amount of stars that you get. I wrote that actually directly into Glass Arrow in a scene where the girls are put on an auction stage, and out on this stage, they're judged on a star system for how they look. So, their polished, finished look is a certain star. Their face is a star. Their body shape is a star. Their legs are a star, and on a star scale. And Aya, the main character, when she sees this, she's just disgusted, as she rightfully should be. And I think this book is mostly about her realizing that the world can be very, very superficial, and that there may be people out there that don't value her for the kind of person she is, but that she does value herself, and she can teach other girls to value their self. So anyway, I guess when you sit down to read this book, whoever you are, I hope that you walk away with a sense of empowerment, that whoever you are more than the design of your jeans, that you are more than your haircut, that you are more than the way you look. And there are so many things in your life that are important. So, is everybody still with me? Maybe? Okay. Are you planning to write another series or continue in standalone novel mode? Yes and yes. Of course, Meadowtown comes out in September. I'll talk about that in a bit. My next book that will come out in 2017, I'm excited about. It's called Blood and Tar right now, and that is a standalone as well, and that has a big environmental slant on it. So anyway, I won't say too much about that one because it's still in edits and it's still kind of being shaped, but I think it's going to be cool. So that'll be a standalone. But everything it's publishing is done so far out in the distance that the book that I'm working on that comes out after, or that will come after that, is the first in a series. So yes, I am working on the first in another series. Really excited to jump back into series mode, and like I said before, just be with those characters longer, live in their world longer, do that kind of thing. Excited. Next question. Ooh, I don't know if you can hear that, but it's a total thunderstorm at my house right now. It's very loud. Let me see here. Okay. How do you like to write? Do you have a particular place to write, certain music, things like that? Let's see. I like to write in the quiet. I'm a writer who likes music very much for inspiration, and you can find some playlists for different books, including Glass Arrow and the Article 5 trilogy, on my website, which is KristenSimmonsBooks.com. But I cannot listen to music while I write because it's too distracting, and then I'm sitting there singing my songs, and then I, forget what I'm doing, and then it's the end of my playlist and I've written nothing. So I don't listen to music while I write. I do like to drink a lot of caffeine. I am a tea drinker, so I drink a lot of tea while I write, and sometimes it makes me type even faster. But yeah, I have an office. I have a lovely desk. This is my office. I have these beautiful posters that Joseph Beth Bookstore gave me. I write very little in here now because I have a little one at home that I'm chasing around. So most often I write at my laptop, standing up in my kitchen, trying to grab a few minutes here and there, tap, tap, tapping away. So that's how I write. What has been the best book that you have read lately? That's such a great question because people always ask me my favorite book, and my favorite book always changes depending on what the best book that I've read lately is. But I will say that the best book I've read lately is The Serpent King by Jeff Zentner. I don't know if anybody's read that, but it blew my mind. It is so, so, so good. It's absolutely so good. Oh my gosh, everybody just pick it up and read it. And it is just absolutely heartbreaking, but beautifully written. Oh, it's so beautifully written. And just about finding yourself and figuring out who you're supposed to be and kind of breaking free from that mold and doing things with your life. It's just, I love it. Oh, I could go on and on. Let's see here. I'm actually on a roll of like reading really good books lately. I've recently finished Illuminae by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. That's incredible. I'm sure everybody's read that by now. It's really good. The Wrath and the Dawn I finished recently. So, so good. I can't wait to read the second one in that series. So yeah, I'm on a roll with good books lately. Okay. What is your favorite TV series? That's kind of hard to pick. Okay, I was a huge fan of Lost. I did watch every episode of Lost from the beginning to the very end, even though, yeah. At the very end, I just finished the most recent season of Orange is the New Black, which was, holy cow, heavy, but really, really good. It was its own special kind of punch to the gut for sure. There was a show on HBO several years ago called Rome, which I loved very much. Yeah, I have a hard time picking favorites. I have lots of favorites. Let's see. Favorite movie. Okay, so when I think about movies that I watch a lot, I watched this movie called Moulin Rouge a lot. I loved that movie. It's got Nicole Kidman in it, and Ewan McGregor. I watched Tommy Boy a lot when I was younger. It's a great movie if you guys haven't seen it. I now watch Frozen and Big Hero 6 like every day. So those are great. I love Baymax. Yeah. Let's see here. Favorite actor. Whoa, in like the whole world. Let's see. Probably Channing Tatum. He's always a win for me. Favorite actress. I don't know many actresses' names, but I always think of Nina Dobrev when people ask me who I would cast in the Article 5 series to play Ember, because I always think of Nina Dobrev as that actress, for sure. Do Do you hear the thunder? Woo! Oh my gosh. Let's see here. Favorite type of music? Please don't hate me. I love country music. Favorite genre to read? I do read a lot in young adult because it's good to know what's out there, but I also love to read romance, so I read a lot of contemporary romance too. Let's see. Can you tell us about your writing process? Okay, my writing process is, most often people ask if you're a plotter or a pantser, meaning do you like sit down and write out a whole outline, a synopsis, kind of character bios, and get a feel for all the nuts and bolts before you actually sit down and write chapters? Or do you fly by the seat of your pants and just kind of go wherever it takes you? And I have written both ways. My process changes a little with every book that I write. And I think that's because every book and the characters within every book are just different. They want different things, they expect different things, and you have to handle them differently. So in general, at this point, I write kind of a basic outline. Sometimes it's a little more detailed. Sometimes it's like, you know, at this section of the book, these following things need to happen. Sometimes it's like in chapter 12, I need so-and-so to have this conversation. So I usually will write some kind of outline, and then I get going with my chapters, and every time I sit down, I reread what I have written, the new stuff that I've written the last time I sat down, edit that as best I can, and then move forward with writing something new. So every time I sit down, I'm both reading what I've done before and writing something new, hopefully, when I'm working on something new. Again, do you create certain playlists for your books? I do, for the Article 5 series and for Glass Arrow, and they're both posted on my website. If you click under the link that says books, and there'll be a drop-down menu of each of the books, Article 5, Breaking Point 3, blah, blah, blah. If you click on any of those books, it'll take you to a special screen where it'll have some more stuff about the series, or about that book specifically, and about and some reviews and playlists and interviews and stuff like that. So yes, you can find those playlists there. Let's see here. Next question. What inspired you to start writing? I started writing when I was a kid. I loved writing from the time that I was really young. I was actually tested for this program when I was in elementary school that was like the gifted and talented program in Nevada where I grew up. And like I'm not very smart. I'm gonna go ahead and own that. I'm not like the smartest, you know, crayon in the box, but or the brightest crayon in the box. That's it. But so I did this test, and I didn't score very well on anything except for creative writing somehow. So they ended up not putting me in these gifted and talented classes, but putting me in these creative writing classes. And so in elementary school, they took me out of class at this weird program at the community college, and every Friday I got to leave and write. And our teacher, it was the first time anybody had done this, because, you know, when you're a kid, a lot of emphasis is put on, you know, learning your spelling, grammar, the mechanics of writing. But this is the first time that I went, when I was in this program, this is the first time that somebody said, just write. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care if you spell words right. I don't care if you know how to use a comma, just write. And so I did. I wrote and wrote and wrote, and it was so freeing to me, and it was so exciting to me. And I knew from that point that I really, really wanted to do this, you know, in some capacity, even from the time that I was a really young kid. In high school, I still wrote a lot of stories and stuff like that. And then it wasn't really until I got into college that I thought, okay, I really want to have a book published. Like, I want to hold a book that I've written. And that was something that I thought would not be that difficult to achieve, quite honestly, because I thought, hey, if I can write a book, then I can get it published, right? That's not too hard. So I was in college. I wrote this book. It was very bad. I figured out that the way to try to get something published is to contact these agents, and I sent them this letter called a query letter, which is what you do, and says, hi, my name is Kristen Simmons. I wrote this book. Here's what it's about in 3 sentences. Here's why I think you should take it in 3 sentences. Give me a call if you're interested. Basically, that's what it says. And I got all rejections. And then I tried again with another book that I had written after that. And I got even more rejections. I was like, hey, this is really weird. I thought all you had to do is write a book and then they put it on a shelf, right? But apparently not the case. So anyway, I think, when you're a writer, you just gotta write. So I kept going. I got, my college degree, and I started working, and I kept writing, and I kept writing. And I kept trying to get published, and I kept getting rejected. And so, let's see, 10 years passes, and I am at I'm driving to work one day, and there's this protest outside of a bookstore, and the 7th Harry Potter book had just come out, and people were protesting it on the basis that it was about witchcraft. And I pulled over, and I just had this moment where I was like, wow, can you imagine what this world would be like if these people succeeded in getting Harry Potter taken away from us? Like, what would we be like without Harry Potter, right? And on one hand, it's amazing that they can protest, because they can. In this country, you can protest anything you want, and that's awesome. Anyway, the wheel started spinning. I got to this point where I thought, oh man, what else could you get rid of? Just kind of on that moral standpoint, that you don't believe in it. It doesn't go with your your morals or your faith or whatever that is. And I started thinking about divorce and wedlock and music and those kinds of things. And all of a sudden I had the moral statutes. Anyway, I went home and I started writing Article 5 that night. And 10 years had passed, and over 200 rejections had come in. I sent that off to an agent, and I finally connected to somebody, and I finally got a book published. So 5 books it took me to get published. Anyway, that was a long answer to the start of my writing career, but that's how it went. It's a lot about perseverance. So if you're a writer listening to this, I hope that you take that away from this, is writing is, half about doing it and half about the perseverance of continuing to do it, even when it's hard. Yeah. Okay. What is the most rewarding aspect of writing for teens? Connecting with teens who have read your book is really an awesome experience. I didn't anticipate how awesome it would be. I didn't anticipate actually that anyone would read any of my books at first, so it's kind of cool that people have. But yeah, it's really neat to have someone say, this book meant something to me, this is important to me, especially with Glass Arrow, because it is such a positive, it does have such a positive mission, I think, to let people recognize their own self-worth. So I think when people read that book and they say to me, this made me realize, how important I am, because that I'm more than a face, that I am smart, and that I'm, kind and intelligent and those kinds of things. When people say that to me after they've read the book, it really, really means something to me. Also, my books almost always talk about mental health issues. And so I end up talking to a lot of teens about ways that these books have helped them kind of talk about and process through their own mental health issues. And that has been really, really powerful for me as well. Okay. Can you tell us about Metaltown? I sure can. I'm so excited about Metaltown, you guys. Again, here's the pretty. I really love this cover. Isn't it nice? The artist that did it is actually the same artist who did The Glass Arrow. He is super talented. His name is Chris Gibbs. Authors don't often have a say in who their cover artists are, so I've gotten super lucky with those. But but this is a story about again, kind of an alternate reality. It's sort of a factory era setting where there are young people that are working in sweatshops, in factories that have very, very poor conditions. They don't often get paid. They don't have protection for their eyes against chemicals. They don't wear gloves. They're just trying to get by. This is the world that's been ravaged by disease. There's a corn flu has struck because so much of what we eat is made with corn product. And so corn in this world has been contaminated, and people are getting sick and dying of the flu all over the place. So it's hard to find things that are safe to eat and drink. There's also a war going on. And so the factory where the two of the three main characters work is a factory that builds parts for bombs that are being used in this war. Colin and Ty are the two characters that work in the factory. I loved writing them. I loved writing them. They were so fun. Colin's a kid who didn't grow up in Metaltown, but ended up there kind of as a result of crap luck. He very soon met up with Ty, who is very, very tough. This is a girl who has lived there as long as she's known. Basically has learned to keep a small group of friends around her that she can trust, who watch her back, but otherwise she's on her own. She is who you want on your side in a knife fight. That's Ty. And when things happen at the factory and when people get hurt, they decide to come together to form what they call a charter, which in our world would be called a union, and press back, which is the motto of Metaltown, press back, or in our world would be called a strike. So they meet with a very important and helpful and potentially dangerous person. Ooh, did you see that lightning? Ooh, named Lena. Lena is thunder. Lena is the daughter of the man who owns the factory, Hampton. So anyway, I am super excited about this book. Like I said, it comes out September 20th. There's a lot going on right now with it. I'm giving away free copies here and there. One goes out in my newsletter Monday. So if anybody is interested, you can sign up for my newsletter. There's still a chance to get in on the one that goes out Monday, and it has a lot of fun stuff in it. There's a Metaltown quiz coming out to see, which side you would fight for, and also an art giveaway, advanced reader copy giveaway of that book as well. So check that out. You can find that on my website. On the right side of my website, there's a place where you can subscribe to my newsletter, and you just put in your email address. All right, moving right along. Would you tell us about your current work in progress? So my current, I'll say my current work in progress is the book that's being edited right now, Blood and Tar, which is going to come out in 2017. I probably can't say too much about it, but it's a book that has pirates, think dangerous, pirates, future pirates, okay? Think, it's a book that involves the president and the vice president's sons who find themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time. It involves riots between two opposing groups of people. And it involves a world that has changed very much as a result of climate change. So, there is more water, it's hotter, there is just a difference in the overall landscape of our country, a big difference. And there is a lot of trash in the ocean, and that plays a big part of the story too. So anyway, I'm super excited about this book. I got to, talk to somebody at the EPA to get a lot of details on research stuff related to the climate change stuff. And yeah, it's going to be cool. I'm really excited about that one too. Okay. Next question. What goes through your mind when you finish a book? Static. I think at that point, my brain just goes, flatlines for a little while. I don't know. I'm very, very seldom relieved when I finish a book. I always think that I'm going to be, I'm going to be so relieved when I finish this book. I almost never am. I almost always get to the end of the book and think, I should have changed this. I should fix this. I have to go back and fix this. This is wrong now. Because oftentimes a book will change slightly throughout the story, tweaks and tweaks and tweaks. And by the time you get to the end, you may have very different characters than you started with, and not necessarily in the way that they've changed as a result of character change. It might be that they've changed because they've just grown through your writing of them. So a lot of the time, by the time I finish a book, I'm already thinking of ways that I need to go back and edit it. So that is my neurotic answer for that question. Next question. What tips do you have for aspiring writers? My answer to that is to write a lot and to read a lot. Reading is key because that helps you, figure out what's out there. It helps you be inspired. It opens up new worlds to you. There's just a million benefits of reading, which I know you guys already know. But writing a lot, I think, is really, really important. And I think of it this way. I think when you're training for a marathon, you don't just go out and run the marathon, right? If you did that, you would break your ankles and it would be catastrophic. It would be bad. You start practicing. You go out, you do a little bit at a time, you get used to running, your lungs get used to it, your body gets used to it, you get stronger, you get better. That's how it is with writing. You have to practice and practice and practice. I'm getting better all the time, and I hope that I'm nowhere near as good as I will be in 5 years from now. You're always, always, always getting better. The more feedback you get, the better you become. The more time that passes, the better you become. So the more you get to think about the work that you're working on. So anyway, just keep doing it. Keep writing and rewriting and rewriting and trying different things and just keep going, because it's just going to get better and better. Let's see. Can you give a shout out to South? Ooh! That was really loud thunder, sorry. Can you give a shout out to South Carolina's Darlington Library? Oh, sorry, my son just ran in the room. He's 3. Okay, can you give a shout out to South Carolina's Darlington Library? It would be much appreciated. Sorry about that, guys. But hi, South Carolina's Darlington Library. Whoop, whoop. I'm so glad you guys are here tonight. And is this our last question? What would you tell your 16-year-old self if you could go back in time? I would tell my 16-year-old self to probably stop being so hard on my 16-year-old self. I think I was pretty hard on myself back then, and critical of myself, and you know, like I was talking about with Glass Arrow, the way I looked and what people thought of me, because those things, they just don't matter. So, or they don't matter as much as I thought they did anyway. What matters is the kind of person that I was. So I would go back and tell myself to relax a little bit. Yeah. And so anyway, that's about it for tonight for me, you guys. I hope that you have a really, really excellent night and do lots of fun things. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions about my books, if you want to chat about anything you'd like. I am on Twitter at Kristen Writes, which is K-R-I-S, and then the number 10 Writes. I am on Instagram at the same account. It's Kristen Writes. And I am on Facebook, which is author Kristen Simmons. And Middletown has a Tumblr page, so you can check that out too. But yeah, I would love to hear from you. Let's talk about book things. Let's talk about anything you like. And I will see you on the internet. Have a good night, you guys. Take care.
Thank you so much, Kristen. I'm glad we could make it work with the storms in both of our houses.
Is it bad there too?
It's getting worse.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks everyone. We will be back shortly with Kara Thomas. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.